Well, I think we are going to go ahead and get started. So good morning. Good morning. Thank you all for coming today. We have one person online, Alicia Baugh from Grand Meadow. Hello, Alicia. She's there. We talked earlier, I promise. So we've got something a little different today. If you're sitting at one of the tables, you should have found a little device that we're going to call the clickers. If you're sitting in a chair, you probably don't have one, but Ann is passing them around. So just raise your hand and we'll make sure that you get one. We borrowed these from Minitech. We're going to use them to get some real-time feedback from you on a few questions scattered throughout the meeting. So, without further ado, we will get started. I'm sorry, Alicia, we don't have one for you. You'll have to send us a comment when we do our voting. Okay, so, important questions first. Where are we going to go to lunch today? If you would like to vote for pie, you will click the little button with the 1 on it. If you want to go to Dos Amigos, you will click the button with the 2. If you want to go to Applebee's, 3. You get the idea.
Oh, the number's going up on the bottom.
Yes. Now, there's not 50 of us here. That's just how many devices we happen to have. So, let's see how many people we got here. Yeah. No. Not on this one. There are some other ones later on where you can vote multiple times. Not this time. We got 18 of you have voted. We'll give another minute or two for any more.
Wait. Brett just came in. Oh, you did?
Have you already voted, Terry? Okay, good.
You're here. Oh, what? I forget where. Get another. I'm voting for Sherry. Anyway.
We'll give another.
I worked for Sherry for all the years. I do that.
All right, a few more seconds and we're going to call it. All right, we're going to call it. And the answer is, ooh, just barely Applebee's by like a nose. So, Applebee's, it is. Are you going to be joining us? 1 of yes, 2 of no. We will be using these for more substantial questions later on. So this is not just about lunch. The important as lunch is. Right, exactly. No. That's right. Now, one thing I want to point out while everyone's making their lunch selections, one of the really cool things about these is that they're completely anonymous. We have no idea what clicker was used to vote for what. As long as you are reasonably careful, the people around you can't even see how you're voting. And while that may not be a big deal when we're talking about lunch, there are going to be some questions later on where you might not want everyone around you knowing how you voted. So I just wanted to point out that's one of the benefits of these devices, as opposed to, say, a raise of hands or something like that. We'll give it a few more seconds. Okay. And the answer is about a little more than half of us, Andy. Unfortunately, there's no way to make the software say how many votes came in. It doesn't work that way. I spent a considerable amount of time trying to figure out how to do that. It can't be done. Okay. Oh, actually, I shouldn't have put that away because we have one more survey question for you. It's all in good fun. Funny how that works. Right. Healthy, fashionable suspenders.
Alicia has a comment.
Oh. Yeah, this one doesn't work so well for you, Alicia. Well, I think I look pretty good, but we'll see what everyone thinks. All right, we'll move along here. Wow, you guys are awesome. Thank you very much. All right. That was kind of fun, but we are going to be using these for some more serious questions later on. So hopefully this got everyone kind of warmed up and familiar with the use of the devices. All right, and having said that, we're going to move right into our first presentation of the day. Cheryl is going to talk about pre-expirations.
Control F5. Okay, so this will just be real quick. This is a new type of notice that one of you, who's smiling, is already getting as our guinea pig. What? All right. So basically, this is a notice that we put together because a few of you asked for it. I think the biggest reason is that your library card expires, and then you go to check out an ebook from Overdrive, and you go, why can't I check that out? And then you have to contact your library to figure out why you can't check out your book, and it's been on hold for 3 weeks or 3 days, and now you're last in line and you have to get reset. So to offset that, we've worked on this. So 30 days before your borrower card expires, you will get a notice that tells you your borrower card is about to expire. Please contact your library to renew your card. It's only right now going to public library patrons. We've sent out an email to the school folks to see if they would find this useful. So if you do, respond to that email that Rachel sent out, I think, last week. And it's only going to public library patrons who have email set up as their notices. So if you have print notices or, I guess, text, you won't get this. It's only email. Okay.
So does that mean like pre-overdue email?
You have to have notices checked in your borrower account and for notice by email. And then you have to have the email address in the borrower record. So it's different than pre-overdue, and that pre-overdues are run in the morning, and this is part of the auto notices that goes in the afternoon. So you have to have notice by email.
Is there any way that can be part of the pre-overdue?
No, it's a different function in day end. So what's going to happen is during day end, you're going to get a block on the patron's record it'll be called, I'm going to show you one, pre-expiration on it. And then when you do your auto notices and in the afternoon, it'll generate an email that gets sent out with your auto notices. So if we do your notices, you'll get that at 1:30. That gets sent out to your patron. If you do your own notices, that goes out whenever you do your own notices. So you want the block on there because the block is telling it not to run the notice the next day again, because you only want the patron to get the email once, right? You don't want them to get it for every day for 30 days. So you want to leave that block on the patron's account until they renew their card. And then when they renew their card, you delete the block. But if you delete the block before they renew their card, they'll get another email telling them that their card is about to expire. Does that make sense? Okay, so here's what one looks like. So you get a block type expiring card. and your card will expire soon, and this is the email you get. So please contact the library to renew your card will expire soon. We don't have any customization on this notice at SELCO, but you can customize it. So when is this going to start? Short answer, whenever Donovan tells me to turn it on. It'll probably be next week sometime. We're waiting for Rachel to, Rachel's got some training videos to go out, and then I'm at Kosugi the rest of this week, so we don't probably want to turn it on today, and then I'm gone next week. So
It'll be next week.
yeah. So, sorry, that was my joke. So do you guys have any questions?
Yeah. Yeah. So right now, if you have an e-book checked out and your library card expires, it takes it away.
No.
So yeah, it does.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
When the card expires?
Yep.
Oh, I was aware of that.
So hopefully this will.
Well, their card hopefully won't expire because they'll get 30 days to come in and renew it.
And
So yeah.
Yeah.
So Alicia, the question was, will this help when the patron, if the patron has a ebook checked out and their card expires, then the ebook gets deleted from their Overdrive account. And this should help that because you're going to have 30 days to renew your card. So, yep. And if you don't have it set up by email, you're not going to get it. So, James.
With the block going on the record, will that affect when if they don't renew, they choose not to renew their card, but then they won't show up on the borrower card?
Yep, I knew you were going to ask that. Yep, that's going to be because the B-Import program that deletes expired borrowers will not delete a borrower if they're in the block, if they have any block. So.
But you can run a report with blocks.
Yeah, you could run, hopefully, reports on your own patrons and clean up outstanding blocks. Is that your question, Jane? You got another one? No.
Yeah, what's for dinner?
You already know. Yeah. Any other questions?
Well, how do you know when they renew their?
Well, they have to renew it with you.
Okay.
Right. So you'll have to train your staff. Yeah. They have to call or come in. Alicia, the question was, how do you know when they've renewed their card? They still have to manually come in and renew their card with you, whether it's over the phone or in person. So just all you have to do is remember to delete the block when you're renewing their card. It's an extra step, but it's worthwhile one, I think. Teresa and then Bonnie.
So instead of like now when the card's expired, it comes up, do you want to renew? We'll just have to go into F6 and then just change the date that way. Is that how it's going to process or what's going to happen?
I think, yeah, you can change the date or...
You do it manually, but I'm used to that normal, that prompting of, do you want to renew? Then it tells you to check the information. That's not going to happen, I assume.
No, that should still happen. That's a completely different function than this email. Yeah. So, Alicia, the question was, will the pop-up window still come up that's warning you your patron's going to expire? And yes, that will still come up. It's a different function than this email. What I usually do, or what I usually did, was I would just change the B type to A and then change it back to A. Change it from A to J and then change it back to something, and that would force the 3-year renewal. So I didn't have to manually edit it. Do you know what I'm saying?
I don't, but I will figure it out.
If you change something in the record and then change the borrower record back and hit save, it forces the 3-year renewal. So it may only be the B stat that does that, 1 or 2 fields. But Bonnie, sorry, you had a question.
Clarification, that notice that's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
Is that going to appear only if they have an email?
Yes. It will only generate if they have an email and they have notice by in their borrower record, notice by email selected. So. So the question, Alicia, was, will that only appear if they have an email and a notice by email in their borrower record? And that was yes. They have to have both those in order for them to get that block. Any other questions? Thought you guys would be way more excited. Yeah. Okay, then I'm done. Tyler. Yay.
Yeah, so this time I had to be the one that went the Star Trek theme for my slideshow.
I want music next time.
Speakers in here aren't that good, but we can work on that.
I want Patrick Stewart.
We really need to work on that.
That would probably require a rise in automation fees.
All right, how about William Shatner? Okay, so this is our first big technology users group meeting since Enterprise went live at the beginning of last month. Because of course it was on April Fool's Day. Just thought we could trick people. So I'll plan all along. In case something went wrong, we could have taken it back. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about things that have happened since we've gone live and some things we did when we went live. And then Cheryl's going to talk a little bit about tips and tricks for searching inside of Enterprise that we've discovered or people might find useful that some of us know, not all of us do yet, but it's a good chance to get that out there for all of you so you can see them. Okay, so first things we have to talk about are the book river. This is the thing that's on the main page of most of your profiles. Some of you opted to have it off, where it cycles through the list of either New York Times bestsellers or USA Today bestsellers. I know that we've had some calls into the help desk from a few libraries with patrons being a little bit disturbed by some of the images on the book covers. I will say that we have no control over that, and honestly, Seriously Dynamics doesn't either. That just comes from the New York Times bestsellers. Whichever books are popular are the books that appear on that list. So when the Fixed trilogy appears on there, that's because everyone's buying it. I will tell you that we can control which list appears on top of your book river. So if you need that changed to something, or if you'd like to get rid of that list in Excel, we can do that just by emailing the help desk. We can change it so that the juvenile or the young adult list is on the top of your profile, or we can just get rid of the combined print and ebook bestseller list, whichever one we have on top. So we can do that. And we do have something about the mechanics of the book river, because I know it's kind of disturbing when you see it, and these are all these major books that have just gotten out, and the Nora Roberts book has no cover image, which is just bizarre, honestly. That comes down to with how the record is set up inside the book river. It depends mostly on the ISBN that is in it. The problem with some of these books has been that the reason the book is on there is because it comes from the ebook version of the list, and it gets put on the combined list. And then Syndetic, who does our cover art, has the print book ISBN on their record instead of the ebook one, so they don't match up, so we get the blank cover image. That's why some of them are there without the cover image. Have we talked to them about changing and adding it in for some of them?
If you email them, they do it within like an hour. But you have to.
So yeah.
But you have to email them, or we have to tell you to email them?
Yeah, I can do email them if you want. I know that I think some libraries are frustrated with the fact that there's no covers. Yeah, that. So if they don't have it in their database, so you have to tell them. Well, we all told them, I guess that would fix it faster.
Okay, the next thing I'm just going to talk briefly about, unless Cheryl, you're going to be covering expanding search and profiles?
No.
Okay. That was something that we added in, how do I quit this escape, I'm guessing, to the profile, selco.ent.crc.net. Oh, Austin, that'll work. Okay, so something that we've added into your profiles, which is not part of the default programming, and I'm sure you've all seen it, that when you do just a plain search in your catalog, it defaults to your location. And then we do have this expand to all locations button added in here. This will go through and basically in the URL up here you see this LM equals AU_limit. That is the part of the URL that is telling you to search, in this case, just the Austin Public Library. That button will go through, remove that, and refresh the page. It will do certain things like changing the order of the books that are in this list, even compared to the ones that are already in it, because it is technically performing a new search. So it's going through and the relevancy rankings are completely redone for the search results, so books won't appear in the same order, but it does expand it to all libraries. That is a function on all of your profiles and will work whenever it is limited to just a location from here. It doesn't affect it if you limit it through the facets, which only a few of you have the library facet, but that's managed through the facet itself. Okay, back to mine. And refinement. Cheryl, you're going to talk more about facets? Okay, and then all of you have the customized facets you have at your locations to go through. We have the same 3 ones set up for all the profiles. The author format, publication date. One thing to talk about on these facets is particularly things like the library one, the include, exclude. If you're including something, if it is on a record, include is simple. That's how it works. Exclude is a bit more complicated. If you take the library facet and say exclude Austin Public Library from my search results, if another library, say Brownsdale, has it, it will still appear in the search results even if Austin does. It will only exclude things where Austin is the only location that has it. So that's how exclude works, because the include is included first. So it works for some of the facets a lot better, particularly the one-to-one facets. But these ones where it's one-to-many, it's a bit iffier on how well exclude works. Like formats, a record can only have one format, so exclude is going to work perfectly. But multiple libraries can have copies of a book, so it doesn't work as well. Also, publication date, just so you're aware, that one is one that is created completely by Cersei Dynix, and that is built into the program. We have no control over that one. It works pretty well, but we can't customize that one unlike almost all the other ones. Okay, and then my list. Yeah,
one question on going back to where the stamp all locations button is.
Mm-hmm.
Is that just for that one search and then it goes back again to your library? That's the problem now. They change it to all locations. They do a search until it's still there when they do the next search, and it's reverted back to what it's on.
That is true. That is something with the product itself. We have questions in Cersei Dynix. We haven't been able to get an answer on how to change it so it stays in whichever one was last selected. Because it's an issue that we would like to get fixed, but beyond our ability.
As a user, too, you think, okay, change that, I'm going to...
I know, you would think it would maintain it.
I thought you'd change it back. But.
Yeah, I would like to expand on that too. It's just confusing because when after you're done doing a search, it says what you're searching should stay on top, and for it to revert back or default back to your library or to both even, I think. So, like for instance, I'm searching all libraries DVD. And then after the search, I'm looking at it, that's the Waukesha Library book search. I'm thinking, well, what am I searching?
Mm-hmm.
It's just, yeah.
Alicia, we're talking about how the search fields up here revert back to the default for the profile after you perform the search, even if that isn't what you used for the search.
Well, I could see where that would be a plus, though, because if you have somebody that was searching and then you have another patron come up,
They're going to want to know what's in our library first.
And that's how Enterprise is, that's how it's designed. It's treating each search like a new, discrete search. So, yes, I understand it's confusing, but that's just, it's assuming you're doing the search at your library, and that's one search, then you start a new search over, and you want to, again, start at your library before you expand to all the libraries. So that's
Although related to that, there is a timeout on all these profiles of 14 minutes. I know it's an odd number, but the software is a little screwed up and won't let us put anything higher than 14 and let us save them. It's supposed to be able to go up to 2 hours, but the highest we could get was 14 minutes. We wanted 20, but... Okay, you said Control F5?
Yeah.
There we go. And then My List Permanence. This is something that we had a few questions about when we first went live. When you put something into My List, if you haven't used My List before, it defaults by going into a temporary list. Something that you and your patrons will need to be aware of is that if it goes into a temporary list, once you close that window or log out, that temporary list disappears because it is a temporary list. You need to go into My List and save it as a permanent one. At that point, you can also change it so your default list is one of your permanent ones, so you don't need to go in and adjust it every time after that. But we've had a couple people go, I saved all my stuff to my list and I can't find it now. Where did it go? I'm like, oh, you saved this temporary list. I'm sorry, there's no way to retrieve those.
If I can just expand on that for a second, Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
The way the software works is, I personally don't think very user-friendly. This week when Cheryl and I are at SELCOtv, we're going to raise that as a piece of functionality that maybe wasn't as tested as thoroughly as we all would have liked, and we're going to ask for an enhancement on that that makes it a little more clear. If nothing else, before you log out or leave, maybe a message saying, you still have a temporary list. Do you want to save that? That's not going to help in every occasion where someone just walks away from the computer, for example, but something that makes that a little more clear. I agree with you. It's a valid point. So we're going to raise that with them.
Oh, speaking of consortial concerns, this is something that we found out recently, that if your patrons are using My List, they need to stay on whichever profile they created the My List on. This has to do with a different piece of functionality that we're required to use for something else, but My Lists are basically saved to the profile that they're created on. It's really not the best. And again, we talked to Cersei Dynamics about that. Do you understand what I'm saying on that one? If they created it on the Austin profile, if you create My List on the Austin profile, you won't be able to access it from the Brownsdale profile to go to My List. It won't be there.
So this would affect patrons that are traveling between libraries maybe, or maybe they went online and used the SELCO profile and then they went to their library. There's a lot of consortial-related features that I don't think work real well. We're planning to talk about that. Okay. Now, when it came to Enterprise going live, of course, the first thing that we had was the feedback forum, which we had up for 2 months out there. We still have an archived copy of it, so we can go back and look at all those issues. And in fact, we just did that for the fact that Cheryl and Donovan will be off at Katsugi, and we have some of our known issues, which we're bringing up with Cersei Dynamics. I'd like to thank you for all the feedback that we got through the forum. I think we got some fairly good responses out there from all of you libraries. Gave us things to think about, some things we didn't notice while we were doing our own testing because there were so many of you out there going ahead and working on your profiles, helping us find things that we would have missed otherwise. So thank you for that. It was a fairly good response, and Donovan will talk more about that a little bit later on. After that, we switched to the help desk about a week after Enterprise went live. So we get a few tickets in about Enterprise every now and then. There have been a few customization changes that we've made at this point, a few inquiries, a few little bugs that we found, nothing too major. But that's going fairly well at this point. As I said, we have made some adjustments since Enterprise has gone live. We made a few changes in the detail display, and we're working on doing a few more. For example, Lexile and AR need to be on the detail display. We somehow overlooked that one, even though we have facets and searches for them. So we're working on that, getting those in there. We have a few other things we've been changing around to make the searches act a little bit better. After that, we have also had the customization of the rooms, as you'll notice, and would have received email this morning. If you're on a mobile device, you got it, that Cheryl just sent one out saying we have a few new rooms available. The way that we're handling rooms right now is just go ahead and email the help desk, and we'll adjust your rooms accordingly. Let us know which rooms you want and what the order would be.
So if we're just adding a new one, say the Minnesota Book Awards room, just tell us you want that, and say you want it, oh, I don't know, after the mysteries in my room. And we'll put it there for you. It's a fairly quick and painless process for us to do those. We're talking more about rooms a little bit later on and their creation and the ongoing maintenance of them. The next thing we have made a few changes in the quick links. Of course, this is available to all of our libraries. John Adams Middle School has had to change a few of theirs around. These are the same tabs in your previous one, except they are much easier to edit. Terry hates me for that, because it used to take him half hour to edit one of them. I can do it in about 3 minutes. So we can customize those for you. Some of you do have a vast number of links, and good for you for having those out there, but I have had to change some of the fonts to get a little bit smaller on there for some of them, or have to change to images for a few of them, just because otherwise it expands this and separates the two banners and just starts looking messy. But we can handle that. Just, well, probably about 7 or 8 links we can keep as long as the words are short in the main part of that. And then we have had some libraries make homeroom adjustments. Here is our big one. Northfield Public Library contacted me last week and asked me to update their research space. So as you can see over on their side, they've expanded it to beyond more than just the default databases that SELCO offers, and they've added in some of their own databases here, like Tumblebooks Library and Zinio. And then we still have the SELCO ones down further here. So that is an option that we can do for our libraries. Just contact the help desk and let us know, and someone who is on the ILS team will be able to handle that. Everyone who is on the core team knows how to work with Enterprise and at least at the basics of editing stuff like this, and so we can all manage that.
Tyler, what do you call it? The research what?
Oh, the research space is just what I call it.
And we can customize that?
Mm-hmm. Okay, come on. I must not hit Control first. It's refreshing. Okay. You're just laughing at my titles now, aren't you? Okay, as I mentioned, we have created some new rooms since we have gone live at this point. The first one that we created was the Accelerated Reader Room. This one, as I mentioned in the email when it went out, won't work in the SELCO profile because it has this button right here, Search Your Library, and that button refines it to just the library's holdings, but we don't have that for SELCO because we want to see our holdings. Seriously, we have like 300 books that are all about librarianship. No patron's going to want to search those. So we've gone ahead and created this drop-down for AR. You can go ahead and like search from 0.2 to 1.2. A rather wide range, I think, for AR. It's been a long time since I've had to use that. But you can do Search My Library, and that will search just your holdings, or search all libraries. The reason I put both of these in, because if you search a library that has nothing, the Expand to All Libraries button doesn't appear. I have no control over the page. It says there are no search results, so I couldn't put that button in that one.
And I just want to jump in and say something real quick, that this was something, searching by range was something that people specifically asked for under Aqua Browser, and was not something we could do. And if Tyler hadn't sat and monkeyed with JavaScript, we would not have been able to do this either. So I'm very grateful that he was willing to get in and learn JavaScript and do this. Thanks.
Yes. Basically, it works on the facets that we have created for AR. So all the cataloging in the 526 field, which is brought into that facet, is what runs this search. Even if you don't have that facet enabled on your profile, this search will work if you want this room. The same is also true for the Lexile room, except I started getting a little bit more fancy with my JavaScript at this point, and I figured out how to do it with being able to type things in, because Lexile is ridiculously complicated compared to AR when it comes to their measures. So Lexile, of course, works on standard range. If you do something that doesn't work, like 123 to 130, oh, please God, let this fail. Yeah. It will give you an error saying that you need to put in multiples of 10 between the proper Lexile range for it to work. The exception with this is if you know Lexile, BR and NP don't require numbers, so this search would work for those too, because neither of those actually have lexile numbers attached to them. There's something else entirely. And then, of course, you can add in the extra little letters in for a lexile. We don't have as many books that use any of these. The high-low stuff might be of interest to people who are using the lexile ones. You can find them in that lexile range where it is a high interest, low reading level sort of thing. But that was a learning experience for me because I thought lexile was just numbers until I created this firm. Okay, other ones, these are the ones that were just announced today, are the Minnesota literature ones. Oops. Yes. This is one that Chris Austin has gone ahead and created. She's in the back of the room there, one of our new employees, if you haven't met her. Chris, raise your hand.
She created that banner, too.
She did. She is very good with Photoshop and creates all sorts of fun things. But she's gone ahead and researched this. And what are the limits? How do we define the Minnesota Literature Room?
So Minnesota literature is, there's going to be an email going out to catalogers about this, but basically anything with Minnesota in a subject heading is counted as part of Minnesota literature. The authors on the right-hand side are primarily based on Hennepin County's list of Minnesota authors. We've kind of widened the definition, and we've gone through and made some substantial edits to the mark records of these authors so that they're all scooped up in various searches on this page. So.
Okay, and the one that I know Anne would really like is the Minnesota Book Awards room. Which again, this one is just here, another list of the Minnesota Book Awards. We have the winners over here. It's a Tiger by David LaRochelle. So we have all these over here, and yeah, look at all those pretty covers.
And if you hover over the cover, it will pop, the winner pops up.
The one that's kind of right there.
The winner.
Oh,
yeah.
nice! The cover image changes. I hadn't seen that yet. You see? There it is. Okay, that's cool. And finally, a fun room. If you aren't familiar with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, don't forget Towel Day is coming up on May 25th. Don't forget to bring a towel along with you. They're useful for all sorts of things. People think you know what you're doing if you have your towel with you. So this is just a fun little room that we created, so you show you can do things like that. I really wanted to create a Cinco de Cuatro room, but I never got around to it for anyone who watches Arrested Development.
You are having too much fun.
Oh, and you refreshed again. No, I want you to present. Okay, there are a few things that we have had some troubles on, and I'm going to point out. Yeah. Oh. The first thing is the pickup location. This is something we are bugging Cersei Dynamics about constantly, is that pickup location from when you make a request is assigned based on which profile you log in under. Not even necessarily the profile you're searching. So if I log in the Austin profile, then I switch over to the Brownsdale. I don't know why I'm taking on YouTube today. Then I switch over to the Brownsdale one and place a request. The default pickup location for my request is going to be Austin, which we are keep on going, what were you thinking of Cersei Dynamics? This should, you own this database. It should go to your database and pull out the patron's home location. So we're bugging them about that. It did create a number of problems at the beginning when people log in the SELCO profile and all the requests were being sent to us instead of your library. So we were watching this fairly carefully, trying to avoid it as much as possible. Cheryl created a quick little function in Horizon so we could go through, find them, and edit them, hopefully before anything bad happened or before a request was filled, so they wouldn't even notice it. But we were getting, what, about 300 the first day? So she did that, and I did some trickery, so you can't select things to be picked up at SELCO anymore. Yes, I did break it. I was very sad having to break it, but I did it. The other thing is ERC. I know we were talking a lot about the ERC when we were looking at this product, and that was one of the selling points with it. And while it does sort of work, we still have the issue where if you search a location, it won't show the ebooks that location has, because it will only show the ebooks that have holdings at the location. And since ERC records don't have holdings, they don't appear. This is a major issue that all consortia have been pointing out to CRC Dynamics, and they are working on. Yep, they have this fixed for Horizon now, so that if we did have it working, you could download directly from it, and things would show up in my account. So you wouldn't even have to go to the Overdrive page to see things like that. But without this working and showing them at the limited, so none of the ebooks show up if you're searching Public Carson Public Library, it's going to be an issue because no one's going to find them until they switch to all libraries for a search. So basically, Cheryl and Becky have gone through and created a bunch of item records for all of our ebooks, so they appear in the catalog. If you watch your items added to my library report back in March, you would have noticed it jumped about 11,000 at all the public libraries as we put in your ebook records in there, so they would appear in Enterprise properly. My lists I've already talked about, and then formats, the Cheryl maneuver. We have a few formats in there that are not quite conforming to what cataloging should be in Horizon, so they can be broken out in Enterprise. The one that comes to mind is the playaway records. Cheryl has gone through and changed them to remote sensory images in Horizon for their MARC records, so we can break them out in Enterprise. Patrons won't notice, but anyone who's doing cataloging and looks at a playaway record will notice that some of the fixed fields are a bit different in the 007.
Don't change these manually. We'll take care of it.
Yes, we will handle any of the ones that we have changed. There are, I think, 3 of them that we have made a little bit non-conforming according to MARC standards. Again, something we have requested with CRC Dynamics is they need to be looking at more than just the fields they're looking at, so that we can customize formats a little bit better. Wait, let me check. Oh, there was one other thing I was going to talk about that I forgot to put on the slide. One of the other things was rooms. I don't know how many of you caught this, but it was an oversight on our part when we went live. If you clicked on a link in rooms, it would take you into the SELCO profile. We fixed that. They stay in your profile now. So no matter what, if you do this search for, like, show me mystery movies in the catalog, instead of changing them to the SELCO profile at the top with our links, they will stay in your profile with your banner and your quick links. So that's working much better now. Okay, things that we are looking at. The first thing is audience level. We're working on getting this up and running in Enterprise. It's taking a little bit of time to figure out because the cataloging that is required for it hasn't been done consistently. Cheryl and Becky are looking into that to get that up and running so we can get a facet that will allow you to refine it so you can get the adult, the juvenile, the young adult listings in there. Same with that is the MPAA rating for movies. This is something that we're fairly confident we can do at this point. So we can get out there, so if you do a DVD search, you can refine and say, I want all of the G movies. So I can look at those. And finally, the other thing that I'm working on when I have the spare time is I'm trying to create responsive design for this catalog so it is mobile friendly rather than having to rely on Bookmine. It's taking some time to get the CSS up and running on that, but I'm fairly hopeful that I can get it working because Bookmine is something that I don't trust. Okay, that is what I have on my slides. At this point, Cheryl is going to come up and talk a little bit about searching tips and tricks on Enterprise.